Hey everyone, put on Instagram I might be filming a video for Mental Health Awareness Week, which is, not week, sorry, month, which is May. We're now in May, so I was thinking I might try and record something, but obviously I'm a bit out of practice, so I'm going to probably do this in bits. Oh well, so today I was going to kind of think about talking about, sorry, I'm swallowing a cig at the same time, I'm going to have a break, it's a bit heavy. I'm going to talk about maybe the stigma around borderline personality disorder and obviously other disorders as well, like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or I don't know, OCD even. But just because the media more hits on stuff like depression, anxiety, eating disorders, not that they're any better or any worse, just that some of those get more light than others for some reason. So, and obviously I'm diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, so that's a bit more relevant to me, if that makes sense. And obviously I know what I'm talking about because I bloody have it. So I was going to talk about the stigma around it and around the symptoms and around people, or how I felt that people have not blamed me for the symptoms, but because it's so not like a physical disorder like cancer or something where you can't help but you're dying, or people say that it's your fault and stuff like that, so it's just a bit hard. So let's start by doing the symptoms, because I feel like BPD, out of all quite a lot of disorders, some of them have not very many symptoms, they're just kind of the basic symptoms, but BPD has quite a lot of symptoms, and obviously you have to be diagnosed with, I think, 6 out of 8, or it's 8 out of 10 or something like that, to be diagnosed. But it's quite a wide variety, and that means it can affect lots of different areas of your life, and you can think that it's not the mental illness affecting you, it's just you're rubbish at something, or you're just like that, you're not good at I don't know, empathy or something, but it's actually a symptom. I'll start by saying stuff like I've got a list here because I'm stupid. How BPD manifests itself and stuff like that. So it does in lots of different ways, and I'll just talk about the ones for me because obviously I'm not diagnosed. I don't have all the symptoms because everyone's different. So for me, it was obviously there's the main 4, which are abandonment problems, and most of the time this is what's happening in childhood for you. I'm not going to go into loads of detail because I'm not trigger people, but it's more feeling you're never good enough for someone, in there's lots of relationship problems as well. So going through relationships very fast, or being very intense in a relationship and suddenly devaluing them completely and you hate them, and it's they're your boyfriend, why do you hate your boyfriend? But it's irrational completely, and it's just you put them on a pedestal, so they're so high up that when they do something tiny, it can you can devalue them completely, and it's really hard because I'm doing actually better with this one at the moment. I used to be really bad at it, and I used to actually do it with people I was close to as well. For example, my best friends or my mum and stuff like that. And it used to happen a lot with my mum, but also with my relationships. But at the moment, my relationship's going really well, so it's not really affecting it like that. I think it's because I've got more level-headed. Maybe it's because I'm on medication. But it's turbulence in just trying to attach yourself to someone, and then if they reject you in the tiniest way, not even they were intended to, say they look at you wrong, literally, if they frown at you, and you're fuck, they don't like me anymore, they hate me, and it's just so irrational, but it's just so real at the time for people with BPD. It's really, really hard. Another thing is self-destructive behaviour, so that can be anything. This comes into actually lots of aspects, and this also comes in what I said at the beginning about feeling sorry, I think my bird's really loud, you might hear him. God. When you feel that they make you feel guilty for what you're doing, for example. The symptoms on the NHS website would be reckless driving, not very safe sex, drug use, like going out every weekend partying and not knowing what you're doing, stuff like that. I don't drive, so driving's not a thing for me. But I buy a lot. For me, it's I used to have a lot of problems with drugs. I'm a little bit past that now, which is good because I've had help for it. But I still get the very impulsivity of buying stuff that I really shouldn't buy. Like, for example, I bought a motorbike a few months ago. I bought a cat when I was at uni. I bought a guinea pig. Like, all these things I've just bought because I felt like I needed them at the time, and it felt so real at the time that it was just so rational. I should have thought it through. And it has like consequences quite a lot of the time. Other destructive behaviours are like going out and being completely blackout drunk or stuff like that, and I've gone through all this sorts of stuff like that. I'm keeping that under control at the moment. Obviously, being in lockdown, it's a bit easier because you actually can't go to the pub, which is actually a struggle. But it's actually a good thing as well. Yeah, so there's lots of different symptoms of reckless behaviour. Another symptom is a self-harm or suicidal ideation. I struggle with that as well. You don't have to struggle with that to have BPD, but quite a lot of people do some sort of self-harm and they don't know they're even doing it. Like when I first started self-harming when I was like 11, 12, I didn't know what I was doing. Like I literally just didn't know what I was doing, had no clue. And my mum didn't even know what I was doing. Like I wasn't aware. Like people weren't aware of it at that time. I mean, I'm not that old, I'm only 20, but now it's a bit more like people know about this sort of stuff. I didn't even know what I was doing until I was like, from the age of 12 to 15, I had no clue why I was doing this to myself and why I was doing it, or why I was hiding it. But self-harm can include like cutting, bruising, stuff like that, but also eating disorders and starving yourself and even binging and purging, or just binging, because in the past, my BPD can sometimes, it can manifest itself in different ways. So like, if you're feeling a certain way, it will make you maybe develop an eating disorder even. Like I've not been diagnosed, but I've been told that I know that I've had an eating disorder on and off for the last like sort of 4 or 5 years. And it's sort of been whenever I feel down, if that's what I go towards, if I don't go towards the drugs, if I don't go towards the alcohol, I go towards the eating disorder, it's sort of like just a self-destructive behaviour. At some points it was getting bad, and when you're like, sorry, I've been interrupted about 5,000 times while doing this by my mum, my brother, my bird, my cat, my dog, everyone. But I was talking about eating disorders and BPD. Sometimes you can be diagnosed with BPD, and the outcome of it is that you have gone into an eating disorder because of the symptoms of BPD. You can't cope, so you try to cope and you go into an eating disorder. But then it also means that you can kind of maybe sometimes come out of it a bit better or quicker, I guess. Well, that was the case for me anyway. Okay, another thing is obviously anxiety. Anxiety is a big part of BPD. Basically, all your emotions and your feelings and your reactions and stuff, they're all, I don't know, maybe 50 times higher than the usual person. So it will affect you that much more. It's not an overreaction. Like, it's actually the truth. Like, if you look at the scientific studies and stuff of it, people with BPD suffer a lot more. And, well, for me anyway, like, for example, say I'm having a conversation with my mum and I'm like, oh, do you like my hair? Okay, I've got over this now, but like in the past, and I hadn't had any therapy or anything. Oh, do you like my hair? Or do you like my tattoos? That's one, because she didn't like tattoos when I first started getting them. Oh, do you like my tattoo? And she goes, oh, and she doesn't even say anything yet. And then she goes, oh yeah, they're all right. The first thing that I've seen her mouth go down and her eyes like look to the side, and I go, she hates them. She hates me. She doesn't want me alive. She'd rather me be off dead, and it'll start a massive argument. And then I'll think my mum hates me for a few until she comes and apologises and says that she actually really likes them on me and whatever. She now knows that if you have to kind of just be obvious and be like quite straight about what you're saying, otherwise I'm going to like make loads of assumptions about them hating me and wanting me to be dead and stuff like that. And that's just me. I mean, obviously it's other people as well, but yeah. And that's the same with relationships, but it's mostly the closest relationships to you. So I get it with a couple of my best friends, my boyfriend, and my mum most of the time. Other people I don't really care. I would say my brother, but honestly he's quite chill. So it's more people that I'm super close with and I really care about their opinion. So if I see it, like them lying to me, I'll be super, oh my god, like that. Okay. What else is there? Loss of identity, like loss of sense of self. I remember when I first found out about this symptom, I was like, Jesus Christ, oh my god, I'm so relieved. I thought that I was fucked since, like, literally maybe year 10 when we were choosing our GCSEs, maybe. I was literally just like, honestly, I have a different thing that I want to do every other week, and it's like going mad. Like, I wanted to be every job in the book, like paramedic, fucking, I don't know, fireman, like even like stripper at one point. Like, Jesus, it's mad. But it's because I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, and honestly, I guess it's just because I wanted different things I had different, I don't know, expectations from myself every few weeks and stuff like that. And also depending on if my emotions were high or low, and if I felt like I could achieve things or I couldn't, and if I got like bad results back from school, I'd be like, I can't do anything, that sort of thing. But when I mean I did have every job thing in the book, it's not just like that. It's literally, I invested myself in becoming a paramedic at one point. I did every research on every course, even a gym instructor. I researched everything, even nearly applied for all the courses and stuff like that. And people go, oh, everyone has that. Everyone doesn't know what they want to do, and they think of those different things. I'm like, yeah, but you don't like completely invest yourself for like so invested. And then when you pitch to someone, I had to move locations because my family came back, so that's okay. What I was saying was, when you pitch your like idea of a job that you've really worked yourself up on for a long time, someone you care about, like your mum or your boyfriend or something, and they're like, you can never do that, or not necessarily like that, in a mean way. They probably say it really nicely, or just like, have you thought this through? And to me at the time, it would sound like that they completely disowned me. Like, it would literally be like, I've lost all will, and then suddenly I lose all will in that job. And then when you're in the nothing place, which is, I have no aspirations, I don't know who I am, I'm really vulnerable, it's awful. So it's just like stuck in this place that I always call like the nothing, or like the empty like zone sort of thing. But it's awful. I'm not in there at the moment, luckily, because I'm on my meds and I'm doing okay, and I'm trained to be a hairdresser. Woo! So I'm actually doing okay. What else have I got on this list? I want to talk about mental hospitals as well, and the stigma around them, because honestly, there's bloody a mental hospital opposite my my secondary school, like all through year 8 to year 12, and I didn't even know it was a mental hospital until I was 15, I think. And so it's like going there, yeah, literally. People go there for appointments, people go there for doctor's appointments, people go there for, yes, there are inpatients who are like a risk to themselves and others, but that's the same as in a general hospital as well. Maybe not others, but they're still at risk. And I used to have 3 weekly, or I used to have daily appointments in the mental hospital. And then it went to like 2, and then 1, and now I have 1 every week. Obviously it's not happening at the moment. But I really feel like the idea around going to a mental hospital and even staying in one, I know people who have, and it's like, they're still people and they still have the exact same emotions as you. And then if you go, and if you even so as like show a different emotion when they talk about it, it's just sort of like, for me, that would really affect me. Luckily, I haven't had to stay in a mental hospital, but I've been to one loads and loads of times, because that's where appointments are for any sort of mental health condition. They're always like linked off of mental hospitals, even if it's in the community centre of it, it's still linked, if you know what I mean. So you're still going to the community mental health service, or the crisis service, or whatever, or the like inpatient, I guess. But I just really feel like there shouldn't be a stigma around it. And if people say about their appointments, and where they are and stuff like that. And even if they've walked from the mental hospital and stuff like that, it should just be the same as they've gone for a checkup at the GP, or they've gone for a checkup at, I don't know, for like their bloody broken arm or something, I don't know. Yeah. What else was there? Oh yeah, I was going to talk about anxiety. Did I talk about anxiety properly? For me, anxiety used to be a really, really like bad thing. I used to have panic attacks most days about nothing. In the middle of the night, I'd wake up and I'd be panicking big time. I didn't know how to do it because I didn't know what it was. And I actually looked back recently, and I actually think I had them when I was a little as well, like under 10, but I can't like confirm that, obviously. I don't really remember too well, but I remember waking up at night proper panicking. Anyway, so my meds have like calmed that down, but recently it's been coming back a little bit. But anxiety and BPD, obviously your emotions are so high that when anything to do with anxious energy or anything, it's going to be really high as well. So that's really bad. And quite a lot of people with BPD suffer with panic attacks and things like that. But I'm fortunate enough to be able to have, I think I've got a grasp on it, but I am having panic attacks quite a lot at the moment. But they get, I don't know if they're getting better, but they did get better for at least 3 years. I didn't have many at all, and suddenly they've come back. But hopefully that I'll be able to get that under control soon. And I just want to let everyone know who's watching this that you can get through this. It's obviously, this isolation is really, really hard for everyone, but we can all come together and be one and support each other, and text your friends, ask if they're okay, ask if they want to call. If they don't want to call, say don't worry about it, it's fine. But still text, just keep checking up on everyone. I think that's what I've been trying to do, and most of my friends have been doing the same to me, which is lovely. But some people are finding this more difficult than others, and I think we shouldn't, like, I don't know, don't take anything for granted, because obviously now we can't even go see our friends. Like, in the past, this would have been a so far away from the truth idea, and now it's just reality, isn't it? So, yeah. Hearts out to everyone.